Hello, my name is Shauna, and I'm a workaholic. I've earned a healthy income ranging from $250,000 to $450,000 on average over the last 25 to 30 years. Oddly, I haven't really been able to save much. Being raised by a gambling addict, I've always lived in a state of constant survival. A constant state of financial distress has been programmed in my fibers. For 15 years, I poured every bit of my heart and soul into building my businesses in the mortgage brokerage world and in real estate. I've supported my children as a single mother and really worked very hard to build a life for them, to give them the life that I didn't have. For us. Little did I know that my dedication would soon be exploited by someone I had recently met by while grieving the loss of a mutual friend. And therein lies a trauma bond. Very quickly, I found myself in the grips of a narcissist, someone who manipulated me into buying a house in his name, giving him control over my personal and business accounts, my transportation, access to my professional network with a new home inspection business that I started for him and financed for him, and even coerced me into marrying him so that he could avoid criminal prosecution for physically assaulting me. I even paid off his parole from a felony drug trafficking charge that he was convicted of 10 years before I even met him. When I finally left, I was left with a staggering $45,000 in tax debt as a single mother of four, actually. It took me 4 years of child tax credits and legitimate federal refunds to repay the tax debt. But the painful realization that he had walked away with a substantial amount of my hard-earned money was mind-boggling, super painful. It was total more than most people make in a year. Actually, what most people make in 3 years. The aftermath of leaving was filled with financial and emotional turmoil, to say the least. His slanderous attacks on social media not only hurt me, but they impacted my children, my clients, my colleagues, my friends, my family. It was a significant drop in income. It wasn't long before thousands of grown men and women were transformed into his pawns. My beloved hometown had quickly become a mockery of pain. As the state's witnesses, myself and one 11-year-old frightened little girl were apparently insignificant and deemed unreliable, as the local justice system effectively silenced all past, present, and future victims in our community. The sound of silence was so deafening, further exasperating my vulnerabilities as I struggled to feed and house my children. Now, feelings of betrayal started to rise within me. I became angry, further exasperating the social abuse as my own friends remained silent in my affliction. I truly stood alone. My loved ones, almost overnight, had become his victims too. the fear of retaliation from people who didn't know them, and even more alarming, most of them had never even met me. This worked beautifully for his agenda as he made a torturous mess of my reputation and single-handedly destroyed my business. Within 4 short months, my phone stopped ringing. Within 6 short months, my average monthly income plummeted to its own low. My annual income for the year after I left him was a staggering $18,000. My children and I ended up on welfare. A stark contrast to the life that I worked so hard to build for me and for my family. Through it all, my children suffered. They have PTSD, anxiety. And amid drastic economic hardship, I was left with no choice but to focus on my healing from a lifetime of abuse. It was a journey of self-discovery and resilience, a journey that has shaped me into who I am today. I am so proud of who I am today and who I am now. I stand before you today not as a victim, but as a survivor. In fact, if he himself were standing right here with me today, right in front of me, I would thank him because it forced me to break the cycle. Unequivocally grateful to know that my beautiful and loving children, especially my 2 beautiful daughters, learned the signs of abuse earlier in life than I did. And now together, we can help millions of people who might be facing similar challenges. My name is Seanna, and I'm a workaholic. As you sit in thought about what I've shared with you, I'd like you to focus for a minute on what I haven't shared with you. For the better part of our time together here today, I never once mentioned the countless incidents of physical violence, assaults, brutal infliction of vulgar abuse against myself and my 2 young daughters. We endured his abuse every single day for almost 2 years. The times that he threatened to lock us up into the basement and set the house on fire, I never mentioned those, and I never mentioned the cruel maltreatment of my beloved mother when she came to visit. May she rest in peace. Each year, the United States economy and taxpayers lose $8.3 billion due to domestic violence. The echoes of the financial, mental, and physical health issues it causes, not just for the years of the occurrence or the year inside the occurrence, but for the reverberating nature of high-impact economic events. Don't be sad, because I have great news. The muted group and spiral of silence theory, in theory, have been successfully predicting these events for us since the beginning of time. The annual cost of the spiral of silence in the domestic violence and violence against women and child abuse space, I'll say it again, $8.3 billion per year. As victims of intimate partner violence lose a total of 8 million days of paid work every year. Between 21 to 60% of victims of intimate partner violence lose their jobs due to reasons stemming from the abuse. Loss of work days because of court hearings, hospital stays, doctor visits, psychiatric and therapists, not just for them, but for the children. What about tutoring because the children couldn't sleep in the middle of the night because, all of this crazy arguing and loud screaming, shouting and punching and police and all of this. Can you imagine what it does to a child's ability to learn? Between the years 2003 and 2008, 142 women were murdered in their workplace by their abuser. 78% of women killed in the workplace during this time frame. That means the abuse leaves the home and follows them to their workplace. That's an economic crisis for our gross domestic product in the United States. Physical, mental, and sexual reproductive health effects have been linked to the intimate partner violence, including adolescent pregnancy, unintended pregnancy in general, miscarriage, stillbirth, hemorrhages, nutritionally deficient, all the way to chronic pain, disabilities, anxiety, PTSD, as well as non-communicable diseases such as hypertension, cancer, emotional distress. These things lead to, in the adolescence, it leads to drugs, promiscuity, failing out of school, sex, and violence. It goes on and on. It reverberates. My story is a testament of the strength of every human spirit, not just for mine. We all have this in us. To the power of resilience and to the importance of speaking up against abuse, domestic violence, child abuse, and the social derivative of injustice. Together, we can help others break their cycles and forge together entire communities to stop the spiral of silence, dismantle fears within the narrative and the agenda of perpetrators, and transform domestic violence into a thing of the past. Invite me to your shelters, your schools, your corporate events, and let me share ways we can disempower the socially accepted norms that have caused the perpetual reverberation of domestic violence and child abuse in your community. Thank you.